on Zoom last time. I've had them on my YouTube channel, and they've gotten a lot of views by our agents. So thank you very much for those.
Of course, good. That's great. I'm glad to hear that. And hopefully the same will happen again today.
Yep. This is the place they need to be. Yeah, and we're getting more and more people show up as we continue here too. So this is good.
Good. Well, whenever you want to begin, I'll let you start it out, and then I'll take over, and we'll go back and forth and have some fun.
Okay, let's get going. I'm straight up 1 o'clock too, and I like to be on time just like I know you do. So ladies and gentlemen, okay, welcome them in. I mean, I've known Mike since late 1980s. It was either 88 or 89, Mike, you know, when I had a full head of hair.
It was a long time ago. You had a lot of hair and mine was dark. So
that's right. That's right. Yeah. We're always 20 years and 6 months apart. I remember that. You're 20 years, 6 years old, 6 months older than me. So, and you know what? The thing that really made a difference in my career are the things I learned. I remember my first 2 years in real estate. My first year, I had 17 closings. I was Rookie of the Year of my board. I was shocked. They had to trick me to go. I had no idea I was getting an award. Next year, I sold 23 homes, all buyers. And then I went, and I was thinking about getting out of the business. I went to Las Vegas, and that's where I met Mike. And one of the funniest stories ever is when he was speaking at Caesars, and Floyd Wickman was there, Danny Kennedy, Richard Flint, Jerry Bresser. Remember all those guys?
Sure.
Jerry Bresser, I think, was barely alive at that point, but he still was alive. And I remember going to see you 3 times, and the third time I saw you in 2 days, you asked me if I had a learning disability. Are you slow? You kind of said jokingly to me. And I said, no, I just like this one. This is my favorite one. And I was like 21 at the time. I'd been in real estate already 2 years. And what I learned that day is inventory's where it's at. Buyers are great, but inventory's where it's at. And then for the rest of his history from there, Mike. So I appreciate that. With no further ado, the market we're in, the inventory situation, you know, these are the 14 things you're going to want to hear from Mike Ferry today. Mike Ferry, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Rick, and that's very kind. And it is fun. You know, Rick, you and I have a lot of great memories for a long time, and that makes everything worthwhile. So thank you for that.
My pleasure.
You'll remember 2006 at the Superstar Retreat. I opened the retreat by showing a little 3-minute video clip from that movie, The Perfect Storm. And I did a voiceover, and I talked about the factors that I thought were going to cause the market to really fall apart. About half the audience applauded, because what I said was common sense. And about half the audience really got upset that I was so doom and gloom. And it wasn't doom and gloom. It was just very obvious what was going to happen in 2007 and 2008. Of course, what we didn't know that it was going to last 5 or 6 years, that recession. So then in January 2007 at the production retreat, I showed the video clip again with the voiceover, and now most of those things that I had talked about had come to fruition. So today I have a different tune. I'm saying today there are 2 reasons why this is the perfect real estate market for an agent to succeed in. Even an agent that doesn't have the talent that you and I want them to have can succeed in this market if they listen to what you and I have to say. And the 2 reasons are, and the first one is going to sound strange, the inventory shortage is probably one of the best things that's ever happened to us. Because when there is excessive inventory, prices always drop. And the shortage is stabilizing prices, A, and B, sellers are getting the price they've always dreamed of for their home. And you know, there's nothing that a good agent wants more than a happy seller. You know, the standard line for men is a happy wife is a happy life. Well, for a realtor, a happy seller is a happy life. So what I want everybody to think about is the shortage is not a negative, it's a positive. Because anything we list is not only going to sell and sell quickly, but with multiple offers as long as we price it fair to start. But the second reason why this market is so good, I believe, is the abundance of buyers, because the buyers are coming out of the woodwork. Obviously, interest rates are a big driving force. Rick, I was with a mortgage banker on Monday morning. He told me that they were funding loans in Florida, 30-year fixed loans at 1.9%.
Wow.
Now, I mean, 1.9%, that is simply something most of us can hardly even comprehend. I was closing deals in 1972, and I've mentioned this before, at 21% interest on FHA. So 1.9%. So the abundance of buyer is driving the rates down, A, and B, people are coming out of the woodwork because, see, this pandemic, as awful and as terrible as it has been for society, for business, for industry, for families, for health, etc., it's driven a lot of people into the market to buy homes because, you know, they've spent 30, 60, 90, 120 days in their home. There's only so many conversations you can have between a husband and wife before you start to drive each other crazy. The conversations you can have with your dog or talking to the mirror. And the conversations seem to be more of, we need to buy a bigger home. We need to buy a smaller home. We need to move out of this neighborhood. We need to get a condominium. This whole pandemic has caused a lot of people that would otherwise have not come into the market. But the challenge, Rick, that you and I face, and it's a tough challenge. Mark faces it as the broker owner. You face it as the VP of sales development. I face it as a speaker trainer. If 100% of the agents actually came back to work, it would be the best thing that ever happened. But it appears now, after 4.5 months of this pandemic, 30 to 40% of the agents have never re-engaged.
Right.
They've never really come back. And we understand the fear that people have. We understand the anxiety that this pandemic has created. I mean, you have a huge asset. You're strong and healthy. And that really makes a difference in this type of environment we're living in. I'm strong and healthy, so I'm not concerned. And also, if you take the protocols that are asked of us, we're going to remain strong and healthy. But a lot of people, real estate agents, are afraid to come out. They're afraid to get out and start working with the public. They're afraid to get inside of a house. They're afraid to show property. If 40% of the agents disappear, the good news for your agents is if they're working, the number of competitors is reduced. However, with the 60% that are working, 10% of them are taking all the listings. And that's the challenge that we face today. That 10% are really good at what they do.
Yeah.
You know, if I look at your company, BHHS, I look at CB, I look at the 4 or 5 dominant companies in town, those strong listing agents are really good. So the fastest way to get paid today in real estate is take a listing. Now, in March and in February, in January, the fastest way to get paid in real estate, take a motivated, qualified, pre-approved buyer, sell them a house. Today, you take a listing, you're going to get paid fast because it's going to sell probably with multiple offers and you're going to be a happy camper. But the challenge, of course, that you and I talk about this all the time is how do we convince them to not spend their life showing property to buyers, which is so frustrating today. And I hear the frustration in the agents' voices. And the answer, and you've heard this 1,000 times, Rick, buyers are easier. Buyers are easier to find. It's because buyers are looking for an agent. Sellers are not. Okay? A seller decides to sell their home. We hope that a good agent like you or I or your top people find the seller, make a presentation, get a contract signed. Buyers are out looking for an agent to help them. So what we have to get clear in our mind is the difference between the buyer and seller programs that are available to all of your agents today are night and day. If you take the path of least resistance, you put a buyer in your car, you're going to spend a lot of time with that buyer. You're going to be looking at a lot of properties. You're going to be beaten on a lot of offers unless the buyer is willing to go full price or above. Or you have to be the first one to make an offer, which is pretty close to impossible. So my challenge with all of our clients and your challenge, Rick, with all, I mean, you guys have thousands of agents today in your company. How do we help them understand the value of taking listings? So I think one way to do that is to ask you to share point number 3. And just so all of the great agents know, Rick and I have agreed we're going to work back and forth on these points together. So Rick, point number 3 in yellow.
Okay, I just wanted to give you a little update too, because I know you're a numbers guy. We have 88 people on, and then I know I got text because we have about 4 or 5 offices throughout California, Arizona, Nevada, that have 10 to 12 people in the bullpen watching it on the big screen. So there's probably about 125 total watching you right now.
Thank you, Rick.
Just to give you an idea. Okay, because of the inventory shortage and low interest rates, free they basically are, the market should remain strong through the end of 2020 and the first quarter of 2021. Worst case scenario, we'll have 4 million plus sales this year. That's 8 million commission checks that will be dispersed. So the question is, how many do you want? Yeah, how many do you want from now to the end of the year? I love it.
Well, you know, it's interesting, Rick. I think what happens to a lot of people is we don't see the big picture of what our industry really is. First of all, there's no reason to believe the market we have today is going to stop. And you know, we keep hearing these questions. Are we going to start having a lot of foreclosures? Are we going to start having a lot of short sales? Unlikely. And the reason it's unlikely is the equity position sellers have today is the single biggest equity position we've ever had in the history of our country. We're talking about trillions of dollars in equity. So even though, yes, there are less people unemployed today than there was 60 days ago, which helps us in this market, I don't think the fears that we've had in the past about foreclosures and people see today, if somebody is out of work, unfortunately, and if they're looking at selling, they have enough equity to sell the property and live pretty comfortably. In 2007, the equity margins were very thin, so the repossessions were very large. So it appears this market is going to remain strong. All the more to reason to be working on listings versus buyers. You want to secure your position in the marketplace by taking listings. And remember, listings bring listings. Signs bring signs. And you guys have the best sign in real estate with BHHS by far. So they've got to get that in their head. The second thing I want them to understand is this market in real estate today is huge. 8 to 9 million commission checks are going to be distributed. So Rick's question, I thought, Rick, is perfect. How many does each agent want to have for themselves? So if they take a business card and they turn it over and they take a pen and they say, okay, I want to do blank number of deals between today and December 31st. Do I want to do 5, 10, 15? How many do I want to do? And write that number down. Make a little commitment to yourself on how many deals you want to do. And keep that card in your pocket, your purse, your wallet, and keep looking at it because, see, you and I both know if a goal is written down, it comes to fruition a lot faster. So hopefully they understand how big the real estate market is. But here's the challenge. The skills that your agents need to have in working with a buyer are minimal compared to the skills that an agent needs to have working with the seller. Rick, you know my little grandson, Sean, because you were at his birthday party.
Redhead.
That was his first birthday party that you attended. And
That's right.
And I remember that very well. So Sean is now 9 years old. And of course, he's got this bright red hair and covered in freckles. And they have a beautiful home. Well, it's interesting. I said to Sean a couple nights ago, Sean, do you want to make some money this summer? Well, a 9-year-old eyes this big. Yes, Grandpa, what do I do? I said, we're going to buy you a little mask and we're going to put a smile face on the mask. We're going to buy you a pair of gloves, a pair of booties, and some hand sanitizer. We're going to find a listing that needs to be held open. We're going to open the front door and we're going to have you stand at the front door. And every person that comes up, I want you to just simply say, if you like the home, would you like to buy it? And he said, I said, that's it. So we role played. If you like the home, would you like to buy it? If you like the home, would you like to buy it? And then you know Ron Cronin, it's his father, one of the best people in my company. Ron said to Sean, that's what it's like to sell and represent a buyer today. The skills are minimal because, and you and I know this better than anybody, buyers buy a home because of the home. Sellers list their home because of the agent. So if the agent doesn't have the skill set, prospecting, lead generation, lead follow-up, pre-qualifying, a strong listing presentation, handling objections, if they don't have those skills, they have to work with buyers. So Rick, this happened to me Monday of this week. Serena and I have a beautiful place here in Newport Beach, California, where I was raised. we decided last week that we want to put it in the market, and we're going to buy a much smaller home here in Newport Beach. I called 2 local agents. They came over Monday afternoon, and the first one is going to make you smile. Guy knocks on the door. I open the door, and he goes like this: "Oh my gosh, you are Mike Ferry." I said, I was when I woke up. And he goes, "Oh, now I'm nervous." I said, no, just let's sit down, make your presentation. Now I told him, my wife Sabrina, who you know, is in Canada with her dad this week. So I said, make your presentation, leave the paperwork. I'll talk to my wife tonight and we'll decide. He said, okay. He made a good presentation. We would have both been proud. But then he made the fatal mistake. He picks up his paperwork, he gets to the door, and he looks at me and he said, "Mike, here's what I want you to do. When you're ready to sign, I want you to go ahead and call me." When I'm ready to sign, now all of a sudden, I, as the seller, am supposed to do the lead follow-up.
Right.
Well, at 4 o'clock, second agent shows up, husband and wife team, good couple, make a great presentation. I say to them, I'm going to talk to Sabrina tonight, we're going to decide. The next morning, Rick, before 8 o'clock, twice, the second agent texted me and said, "Have you signed the paperwork? What time should I pick it up?" Guess who I listed with? The second agent. The skill of lead follow-up. So what we have to do is we have to, and it's hard, my hair is going gray, Rick's has fallen out.
Yeah.
Trying to preach the same message forever, you've got to learn the skills to succeed at a high level. And I know that Rick is always teaching you the skills. So the hardest skill of them all is, of course, the skill of prospecting. So I've made a change, and I don't want to share it with you, Rick, but I've changed one of my thought process about prospecting because of the pandemic. You and I have always said, play the numbers game.
Right.
More people we talk to, better chance we have. So now I'm saying to agents, I want you to play the numbers game, but let's add quality to the quantity. Quality. Let's make 20 quality contacts a day, 5 days a week. Now the agent said, what do you mean by quality? Sharing good information with the person you're talking to that has interest and value to that person. Neighborhood reports, neighborhood updates, MLS updates, market statistics. The public is, remember, somewhat hidden from what we do because we're not out holding open house, we're not out showing property, we're not out knocking on doors, we're not out distributing flyers. Public doesn't have information that we have. So now, if we can get all the agents to say, okay, yes, we want to say, when do you plan on moving? We want to ask that question, but we want to give information that is quality information so a prospect could become a seller based on what we just, share with them. I know you're a fan of Earl Nightingale's, as I have been Earl all my life. Rick, most people don't know that Earl Nightingale was, till he passed away, a master salesperson. Retired at age 35, financially independent from selling life insurance. Most people don't know that before he started in the motivational industry. As you know, I worked with Earl for 4 years in Chicago, Illinois. We're sitting in the office one day. There's a man named Fred Herman, and Fred Herman was kind of the noted sales trainer of the 60s and early 70s, a friend of Earl's. And Earl gave me a quote, and I'm going to send this quote to you, Rick, because I know that you'll enjoy sharing this thought. Listen to the quote. The quality of your prospecting contacts determines the quality of the leads you get, which determines the quality of the appointments you go on, which determines the quality of the listings you take. And what Earl was fanatical about was quality. Now, at the same time, I've been fanatical about quantity. So now we're going to merge the two together. And you guys are a quality company. There's a lot of things an agent can share that Berkshire Hathaway Home Services has to offer a buyer or a seller. So quality contacts, past clients, centers of influence, just listed, just sold. These are quality contacts. And if a person would make 20 quality contacts a day, 5 days a week, they're going to get 3 to 4 listings per month, almost guaranteed. Now, with that being said, we have a little plan Rick and I have devised. I'm going to ask Rick to share it with you, point number 7 in our little plan on how to get 3 or 4 listings per month.
To take 4 listings per month or more, set a 30-day plan for each month for the remainder of this year. Keep the plan simple and include the following: how many hours per day you're going to prospect. Okay, and I recommend do it first. Number of contacts you'll make. Okay, remember the math. Leads generated. Okay, appointments set, and listings taken. And the other thing I would say, 4 listings a month is 1 signature a week. It's definitely doable.
Yeah. Well, you know, Rick, I've always told this little joke. I've always said, if Rick stands up in front of the company and says, Mark and I have made a decision. Everybody in the room is going to take 1 listing in the next 5 days. And if you don't, you lose your license for life. They would get a listing.
Yeah.
It would probably be their own home. Okay.
Yeah.
Which
even if we said learn the scripts, or the same thing would happen, they would do that too.
no question. So I've never shared this with you, Rick, in our time together, but my broker, Pat McVeigh, you've heard me talk about, great fellow. I mean, a wonderful man and a great leader. We're sitting at breakfast in 1970, and he hands me a 3x5 card. And of course, I went to 12 years of Catholic school, so when somebody tells me what to do, I'm generally going to do it. So he said, take your pen, print your name on the top of the card, which I did. He said, I'm going to ask you 5 questions, write the answers down. How many hours per day are you going to prospect? Well, I love to prospect. I mean, that's, to me, that's the fun part of our business, is prospecting. I still prospect today, every single day, trying to get new customers for my company. So I said to Pat, I'm going to prospect 4 hours a day. How many people are you going to talk to? I said 40 to 50 a day. He said, write it down. How many leads do you generate? Minimum 1, probably 2 leads a day, especially if I call on by owners and expirers. Write it down. How many appointments will you go on? I said 1 appointment a day, 5 days a week. And then he said, how many listings will you take? I was taking 14 to 15 listings a month for many, many years in real estate. Then he asked me, Rick, and you'll get a kick out of this, to sign my name at the bottom of the card. Or in essence, he wanted me to create a contract with myself. But then he did something that was almost magical. He handed me 5 more cards, blank, and said, duplicate this. I said, what for? He said, I want you to tape one on the mirror. When you're shaving, brushing your teeth, look at your goal. Give one to your wife. I said, why? He said, tell her in the morning when you leave the house, hold it up and say, this is your job today. Talk about accountability, okay? And then, of course, he said, give one to the sales manager, George. Keep one on your desk, keep one in your pocket. Folks, one thing Rick and I believe in, if you don't have a goal, you have no place to go. If you have a goal without a plan, nothing's going to happen. And the plan, simple as this sounds, is just the steps we take to get to the number written on the back of our business card. So the challenge today, and we've talked about this so many times, Rick, you and I, the mindset, the skills, the activities, and the action. So Thursday of last week, I had a phone call from somebody that you and I have both known a long time, a great speaker and a coach. And we were having a conversation about our business. And he made a comment to me, which triggered some fun thoughts. He goes, I teach agents to do these activities over here, and you teach agents those activities over there. I said, correct. Why do you teach those? I said, well, I think they get faster and better results. But your activities, they get rejected a lot. I said, well, here's the catch. You can't succeed at a high level without being rejected a lot. And you can learn to deal with rejection. It's just part of the process of life. So the activities that you and I want them to be involved in do bring more rejection, but they bring more contracts. And that's the business we are involved in, of getting contracts signed But as you and I have said 1,000 times together, the hard part of the process is helping all of the agents at Brookshire Home Services to understand the importance of learning what to say when they go on a listing. So I'm going to ask Rick to share this next point on using a script, because boy, it's a vitally important point.
Yes. Listing property requires that a skilled agent use a canned scripted presentation. Non-productive agents fight being told what to say and learned canned presentations. I usually tell them, wing it is not a sales technique. Okay, a listing presentation requires showing a seller the exact process that you're going to use. This can only be done when you know what to say and what to do. If you don't know what to say, and you can't do what you're supposed to do, and you can't do what you're supposed to do.
So
And especially here, Mike, at Berkshire Hathaway, we have something called the VAC 2.0.
yes,
They can follow all the things in there and still use your question-based one, which I still talk about today. And all the tools are in there, and the question-based, they have all the tools they need to do it. They just have to learn it, like you said.
all they have to do is read.
Right.
That's really what they do, read and practice. And it's funny because the new Las Vegas Raider football team is practicing today up in Henderson at that beautiful new facility. And everything they're doing is scripted. I think a lot of agents don't know that a pro football player has a playbook. They have a script, just like what Rick and I are using today. So I'm going to ask Rick you a question.
Yeah.
You've seen me speak probably 100 times in our careers together.
Even more than that, yeah.
Maybe more. Have you ever seen me speak without a script in my hand?
No.
Never. I wouldn't even consider it, okay? And what's interesting is, if we can get the agents to understand that, yes, you want to know the material. You want to practice and role play and prepare. But you can walk into a seller's home with the script in your hand, and I did it every day, and simply say, I've written down some very important thoughts and questions. May I cover them with you now? And they go, yes. And I can read the script to them. Folks, I stand up before audiences that go from any place from 50 to 5,000 with notes in my hand, and they pay me a lot of money to read. Maybe you should consider trying it, because if you do, the impression that you make with the seller is better. You knock on the door for your 7 o'clock appointment, the seller answers the door, and you smile through your mask, of course, and you say to that seller, I'm so excited about getting your home on the market, getting it sold, may I come in? And they go, yes. And you've set up the whole presentation with that first impression. Rick, here's the part that is most concerning to me about the real estate business today. We don't create good first impressions. And people, you always are dressed as a professional. I just took my coat off because it's a little warm.
Yeah, me too.
It's 70 degrees in Newport Beach. They call that warm, okay? Right? So it's a little warm today in Newport Beach, but we know that the professional look, what we say, how we say it, how we respond, how much of an authority we are, is what's going to tilt them in our favor. So it's very hard to be an authority if, as you stated a minute ago, you're trying to wing it in the presentation you make. So I am saying to your agents, they're probably saying, do you really think I'm going to read the presentation? And the answer is yes. Now, if you want to memorize it and make it into your presentation, we're okay with that. But if you hold the notes in your hand, you're going to be a lot more confident, a lot stronger in your presentation, okay? If you watch all the politicians today, they're reading everything that they say.
Teleprompter.
It's a teleprompter, and it's a clear glass teleprompter. I have one in my office, I understand. So I'm hoping that all of us understand the importance of what we just said and what you just helped to understand. I had an interview last week with the magazine in the Midwest. It was an interesting interview because I'm going to throw a thought at you, Rick. and I'm not expecting that you would answer because it's a complicated, simple question. The interviewer said to me, "What is the most important thing you've ever learned in your real estate career that you share with buyers, sellers, or agents? The most important thing you've ever learned?" And I sat back and I said, "I don't think I have an answer." She said, "There has to be an answer." And I sat back again and I said, "Well, ask me the next couple of questions while I think of what is." That's a hard question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, if we put Rick, in the chair and said, "What is the most important thing?" it's going to take some contemplation to figure that out. So finally, I said, "Here's what I think is the most important thing I've learned. Knowledge gives me confidence. Ignorance creates fear. The more knowledgeable I am about what I'm going to say, the more confidence I have to present to the seller. The more ignorant I am of the property, the seller, the circumstance, the more fear I have. And the only way I can develop confidence is to role play and practice all the time, which I know you advocate inside." And I know that you want that being done in all the branches all the time. So the seller wants a knowledgeable, confident, enthusiastic, energetic agent. They want all four qualities. Anyone we leave out distracts them from making a decision to sign a contract with us. So if I may, Rick, I'd like to give your group my email address.
Sure.
Do it very quickly, mike.ferry@mikeferry.com. I have found that often they're hesitant to put questions in the chat box, and I understand that. And I also welcome anybody that's listening today to, if they have a question, send me an email. I'll answer it probably this afternoon. I might have a little time a little bit later today. If they have questions about what we're talking about, we would like to give everybody a copy of the notes. Rick can distribute them. I can distribute them. If you just send me a note, say, "Send me the notes," I'll send you the notes. And then, Rick, if I may, I'd like to just take 1 minute and invite everybody to attend the virtual Superstar Retreat.
Absolutely.
In September. We've done it live for almost 30 years. We've been doing it in Las Vegas for about 14 years now. It's one of our favorite events, and now we can't do it live because.
I was going to say, what's interesting is I go by, because, we had it at the Marriott, Desert Springs for so many years. And,
Yes.
Since the late 80s all the way to like 2003, I think it was. And I go by that all the time. We have an office down the street from there.
Yeah, isn't that great? Well,
Yeah.
When we moved it to Vegas, I think about 15 years ago, it's been a wonderful place to do our retreats. So here's the good news for your agents. If they decide to come to the retreat, not only do they get a discount because of Mr. Rick Berube, which is important, but also everybody that buys the ticket gets a free front row seat. How can you beat that deal? Okay.
That's a pretty good deal.
And, it's interesting because we've changed the format from 4 days to 3. We've changed the format from 9 to 4 to 9 to 1. We've changed the format. Every 50 minutes, we take a 10-minute break. There's going to be a lot of interaction. There's going to be a lot of participation. We're going to give everybody that attends the retreat free audio recording of the entire retreat itself. We're going to give everybody that buys a ticket to the retreat the 7-day pass, which means from the day the retreat ends, they have 7 days to review and watch it time and again. We're going to give everybody that attends the retreat a copy of all my notes. So we're going to make this thing a real good learning experience. And as we've always had in the past, we hope we get a lot of good support from BHHS here locally. We're getting a lot of support from BHHS nationwide. And I know, Rick, with your fine tuning them all to what we do, we can get that again. So you might have heard my phone just ping a minute ago because I get this message at the 35-minute mark on my webinar. And it's from Lori, my assistant. Hang up. You have to do another one in 10 minutes. my gal is a time fanatic nut. So I would like to, first of all, Rick, say first, thanks for your support. Thanks for the relationship. Thanks for today. Thanks for getting the people involved. And I hope some of them make the decision to attend the retreat. We're going to make it well worth their while if they want to become more productive. So any thoughts you have to end, and then I'll say goodbye.
I was going to say that a lot of them have already been talking about it, so I think you definitely will have some people. We've just hit over, into the 90 mark here, plus 30, 40, 50 watching at the various offices. So I would imagine that you'll have a decent turnout. I know that I've been to close to 50 of them because remember we used to have an East Coast, West Coast, and then Chicago a few years. I've been to all of those, especially when I was coaching full time. So it's definitely worth it. It's always great information. Mike brings the energy. But I have a question. Do you find it a little different, a little hard to manufacture the same energy in front of a screen than you do on the stage? It's a lot different, isn't it?
Totally different. And by the way, there was a question popped up and I saw it. It said, how do we sign up? Just go to mikeferry.com, press the button for the Superstar Retreat, put in the code MFO1, and you qualify for the Rick Berube discount.
MFO1.
Yep. So I do find, Rick, it's interesting. Let me tell you what I did starting the 1st of March when I realized what you and I had to do. For the first time ever, I started watching TV. And I was watching newscasters. I was watching actors that act in weekly TV shows. I did this for a couple weeks because I had to learn how to talk to the camera. And that's what a virtual presentation is, whether it be a listing or a showing. So they just said, what is the registration code? MFO1.
Just think, Mike Ferry, organization #1, MFO1.
Perfect. So yeah, it's been a challenge, but I've really gotten, so I enjoy it. I like this venue. I can't wait to go live again.
I know.
And I know you.
Same way.
I know you.
I think this whole thing is going to make people realize how awesome they had it, like airlines and the casinos and the hotels and the travel and there's nothing like, and I know you know this as well or better than anybody. People learn way better face to face. And they also learn better when they write down notes instead of typing. So,
that's right.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. I know you got another one, so I don't want to hang you up, but you're the best. Keep it rocking, and we'll talk soon. Thanks, everybody.
Virtual
Thank
high.
you.
The code is in the chat. If you're looking for the code, someone typed it in. So thank you, Liz, for doing that.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for showing up. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye, Michelle.
Bye, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's it? I thought it started at 1:30. Oh, well, I guess not.
No, she's not.